Lawmakers in Congress are now upset at Chuck Schumer for not getting President Biden's stimulus bill approved fast enough. And now, President Biden has announced that he will meet in person with CEOs of major corporations to discuss the potential benefits of his Build Back Better Act. So folks, there's a ton of news to go over about the fourth stimulus check, so you want to be sure to continue watching this video. According to a White House official, the executives are going to be meeting with President Biden in person, and this is a change from past CEO events that President Biden has hosted. During the meeting, the CEOs of the nation will highlight what they see as the key benefits of the Build Back Better bill for the American economy and American businesses. The event appears to be geared at showcasing an element of the Build Back Better Act that has now received very much attention, which is what it would do for businesses. Instead, most of the attention paid to the bill over the past year has been focused on what the $1.75 trillion plan would have done for poor and middle-class families. The legislation currently contains language that would raise corporate tax rates and impose a minimum tax on profits. For the past year, business groups have opposed its passage. The good news for the White House is that highlighting the business side of the bill could also help the Biden administration move the biggest obstacle standing in the way. So far this week, Biden has said that the climate portion of the Build Back Better bill might be able to pass the House and Senate on its own without the social programs. But with lawmakers already putting together different versions of the bill, we could definitely see more stimulus checks sent out very soon. And that's good news for all of us, everybody. Now, as a way of helping the residents cope with the struggles of the crisis, several states across the nation have been organizing their own stimulus checks, and the state of Florida is one of them. This follows the 3 federal stimulus checks that were sent out to people that needed it and qualified for it. Folks, let's not forget about this. There is a new round of stimulus available. While the financial support on offer is becoming less and less, there are still programs out there to help people out, to help people in need. In Florida, one of the schemes is a stimulus check for school teachers. After teachers and principals already received one stimulus check as a thank you for their hard work during the crisis, they could be set for another one in 2022. Around 177,000 teachers and principals are expected to qualify if this measure is approved. If this new round of checks for Florida teachers is approved, it is believed that the checks will be worth around $1,000 each. That is the same amount as was sent out in 2021, with the Florida Department of Education allocating $3.5 million for the time and bureaucracy necessary to administer the checks. Ron DeSantis has also explained why he thinks it is a good idea to offer this reward to teachers who could collect a 5th stimulus check on their own. Gavin Newsom has also unveiled a sweeping $286 billion budget bill for the 2022 budget year. So while the budget, as proposed, does not include any round of stimulus checks in the state of California, the governor left open a possibility for more tax rebates this year, as the state is still trying to figure out what to do with this massive budget surplus, one potentially large enough to succeed and exceeds California's constitutional limit. Last year was just the second time California soared above the limit since it was established, and that effectively triggered the largest state tax rebate in the country. The Golden State Stimulus Program gave back about $12 billion in stimulus payments.
Now, Madam President, as our country continues to recover from the darkest days of the COVID-19 pandemic, last week we received a remarkable bit of news. The U.S. economy grew 5.7% in 2021. Let me say it again. Last year, the U.S. economy grew by 5.7%, the largest single-year growth rate in about 40 years. Last year's economic growth did not happen on its own. Faced with a historic crisis, Democrats took unprecedented steps in 2021 to give American families and businesses the support they needed to make ends meet and stay healthy. And though we have more work to do to lower costs and expand opportunity, we are undeniably better off today than we were a year ago when we first took office. It is frightening when we first took office as a majority Senate. It is frightening to merely remember how bad things were at the start of 2021. We were entering the very worst of the pandemic. The economy had its worst year since World War II, and 11 million people were out of work. More than 3,000 Americans were dying each day from COVID-19. But Democrats responded by passing the American Rescue Plan 2 months into the president's term. We later passed a historic infrastructure package That's putting people to work fixing our roads and our bridges and our highways. And thanks to the heroism of health workers, the leadership of the Biden administration, and action taken by congressional Democrats, over 200 million Americans have now been vaccinated. Because of these steps that Democrats took last year, unemployment has plummeted faster than many forecasts predicted a year ago, to below 4%. The economy added the largest number of manufacturing jobs in 3 decades, and as wages keep climbing, layoffs are near record lows. Madam President, make no mistake, this economy is in the midst of a historic turnaround, thanks in large part to swift action by Democrats in the Congress and in the White House. But of course, the work is far from over. We must keep working to lower costs for American families. We need to help businesses struggling with strained supply chains, particularly the chip shortage, affecting everything from auto manufacturing to household appliances. And workers need protections to ensure they share in our continued economic recovery. That's why Congress must keep working on legislation like the U.S. Innovation and Competition Act, which the Senate passed last year with strong bipartisan support. This week, the House will hold a vote to pass their counterpart to this bill, the America Competes Act. I'm glad the House is taking this important step in the right direction. And when the America Competes Act passes, the House and Senate can begin the bicameral process of resolving the differences in each bill and send a final product to the President's desk. With historic investments in science, technology, and American manufacturing, the policies of USICA represent the boldest steps in decades to secure America's economic future. By bringing manufacturing back to the U.S. from overseas, it would strengthen domestic supply chains, help address our country's dangerous semiconductor shortage that has driven up prices in everything from cars to microwaves. All this would not only relieve rising costs by making us less reliant on foreign manufacturing, it would also advance our national security. This legislation would help fix our country's dangerous semiconductor shortage that has driven prices up in everything from cars to microwaves, by strengthening domestic supply chains and by increasing production. It would not only relieve rising costs, it would also advance our national security. For months, I've spoken with both my Republican and Democratic colleagues about finding a way to get this bill to the President's desk. Now, I am glad that the House will take action later this week on their version of this legislation, and I look forward to working through this bill